Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Escape Pod. Thank you so much for escaping with us. That's Andrew. I'm Alex.
And as always, with great power comes great Danny Motta ability. Did I kill it?
Yeah, you killed it.
I got his name wrong literally like 5 seconds ago.
That's what you guys were mumbling about, like seconds before. You were like, "Is it Motta ability? Is that what that is?"
Yeah, I called it in my room earlier this morning. We were like dissecting your name, and we still got it wrong. So Danny, we're gonna do a few different things with Danny today. A lot of people in our community know you and are very excited about this.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry to hear that.
I mentioned it in the Discord yesterday because I was asking for suggestions of what they wanted to see on the episode, and there were a few people that were like, "Oh, let's go!"
That's so funny.
So we're gonna start with hot seat as we always do. I explained this to you before, but I'll explain it again. Hot seat, we basically put 4 or 5 minutes on the clock. We rapid fire questions at you. It's kind of our way of interviewing you. You can answer them quickly so we can get through more, or you can take your time if you like a particular question.
Right.
But we're just gonna go back and forth and rail you with questions.
This is such a
Pause.
stressful. Oh, pause.
Pause. No, go ahead.
This is such a stressful way to begin the podcast.
Yeah,
like,
We
okay,
keep you on your toes.
yeah, it's like, welcome to Escape the Podcast, everybody. Danny, we've got your bomb prepared for you. Here are
You've
your
got
tools.
2 minutes to diffuse. Yeah. Okay, so you have your phone?
Yes,
Timer?
I do. I'm going to open the calculator app real quick.
That's a running bit.
Got you.
Do you ever
Have you
just
ever
like
open the calculator app trying to open your clock app and clock app?
I haven't done math in decades. I would
okay, good
never.
for you.
I don't even have a calculator downloaded.
Okay,
out of spite.
okay. So then
Out of
he's
spite.
good. He's good. He's good. All right.
All right, I'll
3,
start.
2, 1.
Cars 2?
What am I saying?
That's
Good.
my question.
What'd
Good.
you take?
No.
It's good. It's fun.
Yeah.
No.
Correct.
No?
No. Incorrect
but
answer.
You've incepted that idea into my brain that it's
I'm the captain of the Cars 2 fan club. Yes.
at least it's fun. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
I'd rather go see something that elicits some form of hype than boredom of any kind. You know what I mean?
There is no boredom in Cars 2.
Yeah,
And I'll
exactly.
die on the hill. It's a good movie. It's fun. It does exactly what it needs to.
It opens
Is
with
it
a
better than
massacre.
Up?
Better? No, yeah, that is a weird take of yours, isn't it? Yeah.
There we go. There it is.
No, certainly not. Because I
There.
get the same amount of hype and fun from Up,
Yeah, of
along
course.
with other more real emotions.
Yes, thank you. Alex?
What was your favorite movie of 2023?
Of 2023, have you seen Saltburn?
No.
You are, yeah, wow, okay.
Dude, Saltburn goes so hard.
All I know is that it's weird, dude.
It's so weird. It's so hard to recommend because it's the weirdest thing ever. So I won't get too much into it. But see it. It's full of twists and turns.
People
It's
licking
crazy.
bathtubs.
People do be licking bathtubs. It's low key, a Joker movie. I won't say it's better than Joker, but if you like a Joker type movie,
Oh, interesting.
I would see Saltburn.
Now I'm interested. Okay.
It's very cool.
Okay, rank the AOT Attack on Titan ending episode out of 10.
8?
Okay.
Go on.
Now rank AOT overall.
Oh. 7.
What? You went down?
Here's the thing. The ending is so, it gives you everything you want and expect out of Attack on Titan. The only problem is some of the things I expect are not good things. It's nonsense anytime they bring up, Historia or the Founding Titan. My brain just turns into TV static.
No, it is really confusing.
But the action's, hype. The music's incredible. I think Attack on Titan, it starts really hot and then kind of just gets too muddled in its own lore and complexity.
I'm the opposite. I love the complexity. It does get a little bit too complex. I think there's a little bit too much, but we can talk about that later. Okay, interesting. Wow, 8 and 7.
What's your take on Death Note?
Love Death Note. Just a solid 10 out of 10 hype show. 9 out of 10.
Past episode 27?
Yeah.
Past episode 27?
No, lowers. Plummets past episode 27.
Exactly.
You're
So
correct,
that, I think pre-episode 27, it's an 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then I think past episode 27 is a 0.
You're honestly, you're right. I'll bump it down a couple pegs because I genuinely always forget there are episodes beyond
Yes.
27.
Yeah, okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
How long
That's
does it
fair.
go on after 27?
It's like 35 episodes.
Yeah.
It's like there's 2 arcs.
Yeah, my sister the other day like mentioned the name Nier, and I was like, "Who the hell are
Yeah.
you talking about?" Like, yeah,
Yeah. What's the other one's name?
I don't.
The
Mellow.
chocolate one.
Isn't it
Mellow?
Mellow?
Yes.
Yeah,
Like, why would you ever remember that?
yeah. 2 like candy sounding names. Like,
Yeah, it's terrible.
Best or favorite and least favorite thing about your podcast co-host.
whoa.
Put him on blast when he's not here.
Whoa, favorite thing about him, he's genuinely very funny, and just an absolute wealth of knowledge in like everything he cares about, which is very cool. Least favorite thing about our podcast and or co-host is we are the least like chill podcast ever. Like it is ADD brain battling against ADD brain. So it'll be me being like, yeah, I really think the Attack on Titan finale was really cool. And then like he'll wait for a gap and then be like, yeah, I also think it was really cool. And here's
all
this.
like,
Yeah, it's very on
gotcha.
top of each other. But people like that.
Yeah, fair.
That felt personal.
That was
Yeah, that was intense, Bubba. Okay, yeah, I'll keep it extremely, extremely simple. What is your favorite superhero movie of all time?
the first Spider-Verse movie.
Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Great pick.
What did you think of Across?
Across the Spider-Verse? More like Across the Spider-Worse than the first movie because it was bad.
Bad.
It's not bad, but it's so... It feels like a mess. Like if the first movie was like a tight ball of yarn, this one feels like the same ball that you bounced a few times, and all the yarn got like loose, but there's still a ball, you know? Like the mother stuff, like, is just a waste of time.
What? Like the like his mom, like Miles'
Yeah,
mom,
like
Rhea?
all the rooftop mom talks.
What?
Especially when you compare it to the father stuff in the first movie, which like beautifully ties into the plot, and it like has some really emotional moments when he's talking to Miles through his bedroom door. Like I
Yeah.
tear up every time.
I tear up when she's talking to him and when she's saying you're gonna go out into the world and you need to not forget who you are, and when you come back you're bringing a cake and all that stuff. That doesn't get you.
I
that
tear up
gets
too,
me.
but in the way that like when you fall asleep when you don't expect to, you kind of like tear up a little in
Wow.
your sleep.
Wow, that was
I
crazy.
don't know if a conversation has like meant more to me emotionally than the mother rooftop saying it. Like he's just like, F- you, like, holy shit.
Go on.
No, yeah, continue.
I was just gonna say, it just feels like it doesn't like mesh into the puzzle piece that is like the rest of the movie to me.
Just the mom stuff specifically?
Yeah.
Interesting. What'd you think about the ending?
I thought it was cool. I heard that Miles isn't actually like that's not an evil Miles, and that's a little like disappointing to me.
Yes, I agree.
Right?
I
Yeah.
also want him to be evil Miles.
Yeah,
Obviously, he's going to turn him because obviously,
Right.
but I want him to be evil Miles.
Yeah.
That's better than anti-hero Miles.
That's like one of the things where it's like there's a few things this movie does, and if the third one knocks it out of the park, this one will be better. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of things
No, I
it sets up that I'm like, it's all contingent on the third. Where like I really wish with the canon events, like what Miguel's like mission was like, oh, you stopped like in Peter Parker's like canon event from happening. I now have to go and kill that guy personally.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things. There's just a few like dark plot points it alludes to that I hope pay off.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So that's
I got like 2 more. Hottest Disney character.
hottest Disney
Because
character?
I asked you this in an interview at Comic-Con one time.
What'd I say? Did I say
I can't
some
remember.
nonsense? My mind always goes to Chell, and I know she's DreamWorks from Road to El Dorado.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, similar looking person than
Nani.
Nani?
Yeah,
you
Nani.
knew
I think that
immediately
might have
it's
been what
Nani.
she said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's so hot. She's unbelievable.
Nani's hot. You have any more? Because I got one more.
You go.
Is the time up?
Yeah, time's up. It's been up for like 3 minutes.
I'm so sorry.
Cool.
No, you're good.
This is also, I had this written down, but then people also suggested it in the Discord. For people just starting out on anime, suggest 2 or 3 that you think people should start with.
Nice.
I think I know so many people who have started with Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
And even though, like, in my head, that's a weird one to start with because it's so over the top, it's so complicated. It, like, doesn't have any fan service, which is good for, like, a beginner anime. And it also starts as, like, a survival horror. So, like, that is a strong draw for people. I think Attack on Titan's a great first one because it starts simple and then gets into some, like, anime tropes and nonsense. And I think Demon Slayer is great if you can, like, season 1 is good. It's very good. But, like, if I recommend Demon Slayer to someone, I will also recommend they find somebody to constantly tell them, get to season 2 and 3. Like,
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I obviously you've seen way more anime than me, but I normally my few that I suggest is Demon Slayer and Sword Art Online.
Really?
Yes, I love Sword Art Online. I think the first season, if you stop after the first season, that's fine, but I think the first season of SAO is a really good starter one. I normally say AOT do Attack on Titan like maybe like third or fourth after you've done like Demon, because like Attack on Titan is just a lot.
It's so
like
dense.
it is a dense, complicated, emotional, wild ride that you will go on for a long, long time if you watch all of it. So if you're not ready to buckle up for that, I would start with like a little lighter like Demon Slayer, SAO, and then go to Attack on Titan. But yeah.
You mentioned that AOT doesn't have a lot of fan service, and that's good for new anime watchers. Can you explain to me what that means?
It means boobies, essentially. Like, it doesn't have a lot of, like, just a dude trips and his face falls into a woman's chest, which is, like, a big anime trope.
A lot of people think that's all anime is like anime boobies, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, like, that turns off a lot of people, which is interesting why you say Sword Art Online. Because that has a lot of that.
I wouldn't say it has a lot of it. It definitely has a little bit, especially, like, through the different seasons, you get them as different characters because you get like the human version of the character, and then you get them as their like super hot like sword wielding character. But yeah, I don't think it crosses the line into like being over the top in that particular way.
That is interesting because fan service does mean something different in different communities.
Yes, like I was like, oh, like
that is
does
confusing.
anime have a lot of callbacks to other animes or this? Like I was so confused.
No,
by that.
it's boobs. And when I said boobs, you were like, what is he? Like you were further
I was
confused.
so confused because fan service in Star Wars means, you know, Dr. Evazan and the dude that gets his arm chopped off showing up in Rogue One.
Yeah,
like
Luke Skywalker and Mandalorian.
Blue Milk in Rogue One. Like that's what fan service means to me. So I was like,
no, it has such a negative connotation when it comes to anime.
Yeah.
And I love the, like, connotation.
So you literally just meant boobs.
I just mean boobs.
That's fascinating.
But, like, I mean, like, not like, oh, there's no women, good. I mean, like, there's no, it's like overt sexualization is what it means in anime. But I like, it should mean what it means in Star Wars. You know, like.
Yes.
In service of the fans.
Yes, right? Like, No Way Home. Everybody complains about the fan service and the nostalgia and this and that. That's what I was imagining when you were. Speaking of, what's your take on No Way Home?
Oh, boy.
Really? You're one of them?
No. Whoa. Here's the thing. It's tough because there's just a better Spider-Verse movie. You know what I mean?
Yes, but who cares?
Who cares?
Like, that's not what this is.
It's so... I really don't like No Way Home because one...
I know. I knew he was one of them. I knew it. I knew it. I fucking knew it.
Because Peter's on here, huh?
Yeah, it's about to be.
because Peter is so irredeemable in it.
Okay, this is the only point that I will allow because people have come on this pod and said this before, and I agree. You mean Tom's Peter?
Yeah, Tom's Peter.
He makes wrong decisions.
Yeah. He's like such an asshole, and people are like, well, he has to learn with great power. Yeah. He's had 5 Spider-Man outings to learn that with great power comes great responsibility, to the point where Aunt May dies. I'm like... Yo, it's about time you had some consequence for being this selfish. Like, I don't want to watch him, like, run around for 2.5 hours, be like, oh, I know there's, like, 6 terrorists running amok, but I gotta get into my Ivy school.
That, and, like, I think they really wanted to focus on his character being so selfless in a sense that he wanted to save these bad people.
Right.
But he does that in contrast to... the Sorcerer Supreme basically telling him, like, if you try and do this, you might kill everyone.
Right.
And, like, I think that is extremely like hubristic and egotistical of him to be like, hey, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to like trap you in the mirror dimension, basically.
Right.
Because I feel like this is what I need to do. And like everything that is bad in that movie that happens is because he decided to do that.
Yeah.
Aunt May died because he made that decision.
Right.
And like the first time it doesn't bother me as much anymore because when I rewatched it, I kind of knew he was going to do that. But the first time I watched the movie, when he whipped the little box from Stephen Strange, and Stephen literally went, "Don't," and he yoinked it. I literally like turned to my friend. I was like, "No, he's not," like because that was annoying. So I will give you that point, but I don't think that is enough of a reason to say that it's a bad movie.
It's just that's just like one of my beefs with it, and it's also just got the thing a lot of people complain about with Marvel movies, and I don't know if I've ever heard your guys' take. How do you feel about the quote-unquote Marvel humor, I suppose?
Yeah, it's problematic, and it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot worse.
But it's not bad in No Way Home.
But it's not. I will die on this hill. Dude, I hate the internet's opinion of No Way Home in like the last year because it's all like, all of it is Marvel dialogue, it's cameos, it's fan service, it's nostalgia bait, it's not a good movie, it's not rewatchable. Like the amount of times I've heard people say, because Andrew Garfield pauses before he says anything for the audience to applaud, because of that it's not rewatchable. I don't think there's a movie in the MCU more rewatchable than No Way Home. I think No Way Home is easily the third best MCU movie. If you told me it's the best, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I think it's I don't have any of the problems with No Way Home that everybody else has. And like, guess what? Okay, Peter's a dude. Yeah, he's a dude. Congratulations. That doesn't make the movie worse for me. Like, there are so many movies where the titular character or the main character starts off being not a great guy and then makes decisions to redeem himself in some capacity.
Right.
And I like those movies. There are a million movies like that. I don't think it's like a I understand people being annoyed by his actions, but it bothers the out of me that people say the actions, because a character is a person in a movie, it's a bad movie. Like Citizen Kane doesn't exist.
I agree. That's a very interesting take because, and again, you'll love Saltburn, which is just about a bad dude being bad. But like, it feels inconsistent with who he was in the previous movies. Like his decisions, to me, just felt like way dumber and way more selfish than like what the other movies established Tom Holland as being. And I had a friend, because aside from that, like, I do get that, like, right, I also want to see an arc of a character. So, like, that isn't the main issue for me. But it's also just, like, it felt like the movie was just kind of, like, bumbling around with this, like, Marvel humor, like, tone, especially when they're, like, in the big climactic fight, and the Sam Raimi movies are so good at and so known for, like, Tobey Maguire being desperate in every fight, and like every fight feels like Spider-Man could like die like from just one missed dodge. And now we have this fight where they're like, you know, the villains are doing whatever, just flying around the Statue of Liberty, I guess, and Andrew Garfield's like, wait, what are the Avengers? Are you in a band? Is that a band? And it's like, beat up these guys, like, I don't know, or do this while swinging. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Shut
I
up.
just completely disagree.
That
I just like that.
That's part of Spider-Man's charm. Like, he's always quipping in the middle of, like, that's what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man.
The MCU is not the Sam Raimi movies. Like Homecoming.
Yeah.
You could make the argument Homecoming is the least stakes Spider-Man movie of all time.
Right.
And I have the opinion, and I know this is a hot take to him, I don't know how you feel about this, I think when Homecoming came out, it was the best Spider-Man movie we had ever gotten.
I love Homecoming.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Homecoming.
No.
He hates it.
Here's the thing. He's quipping in that, but
No,
it's
he's not. Barely.
He's funny.
No.
Ned hits a dude with a shocker gauntlet, and he's like, nice shot, or whatever.
That's not being clever
I like
or
that
quipping.
bit.
That's
That's
not
I
being
love Homecoming. Like, yeah, I just, yeah.
He's, well, so, like, but in like Spider-Verse, for example, that Peter Parker, who I think is like the best Peter Parker we've gotten.
Fair. Yeah.
is
You're
quipping
talking about B or the
B.
blonde?
I like B.
Okay, yeah. I wish I thought
blonde's,
you were
like,
going to
not
say
in
Chris
it.
Pine.
Yeah.
I was
No.
like, he's the only Spider-Man that's ever died.
Yeah, right, exactly. Objectively, by that standard, the worst Spider-Man.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Like people say, oh, like they use the clip of him stopping the Collider thing when he's fighting the Prowler, and they're like, oh, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
What about
he's
the clip where-
died. Nobody else has.
Yeah,
about the
but
clip where
that
just
was
a-
his canon event. Like Miles wasn't supposed to be bitten. That's
No!
what caused his death.
All right,
Okay.
continue, sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, in Spider-Verse, Peter B. Parker is quipping, but it's like, while he's doing stuff, like, he's, like, still trying to stop, Doc Ock, whatever her, like, other name in that is.
Olivia.
Like, Olivia, yeah. He's trying to stop her. He's, like, trying to teach
No,
Miles, and there's a sense of, like, desperation in his voice acting, where he's like,
Selecting bagel. Yeah. No.
well, that one, okay, but yeah, like that's
I've got
not
good
a
news
great
for you.
one.
We don't need the monitor.
Like, I like that. That's
that's
such a
great.
great bit because he's just like, he is quipping to alleviate Miles's tension of the situations and also to alleviate his own, so it feels
That's why I like.
warranted.
That's one of the
You
reasons.
don't need to pitch Spider-Verse. to me.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Spider-Verse 1, when it came out, the best Spider-Man movie of all time. It's still the second best. I believe the sequel's
You like the
better.
sequel?
Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
I think Spider-Verse is one of two perfect animated movies.
For sure. I agree.
Like,
I have, like, can I pitch to you an alternate No Way Home that my friend and I, like, okay, that's all right.
No.
Okay.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it. Give us the Reader's Digest version. What is it?
What if all these Spider-Men come back, all the villains come back, because I like the idea that Tom Holland wants to reform them, because every other Spider-Man and every other Spider-Man arc is just like, I'm gonna beat them up until they stop being bad, essentially. So I like that idea, and I like that he's like, oh, we're smart. Let's use our brain to, like, help cure them of whatever they have. I like if the villains come, Peter is like, oh, I'm gonna help you guys, and then the two other Spider-Men show up, and they're like, no, the only way to deal with these guys is to beat them up. Like, I've had people die because of these villains, like, they've destroyed cities before, and so now Peter, Tom Holland, has to fight the other two Spider-Men to protect the villains, essentially.
Is that not exactly the same thing that happens, basically, but instead of fighting the two Spider-Mans, he fights Doctor Strange?
Yeah, like that, okay? Like, here's my take for you. Here's my take for you. No Way Home is fun. That's why it made $2 billion. That's why I think it's the most rewatchable movie in the MCU. That's a big reason why I sing its praises. Civil War is sad and dark and gloomy. It has fun, but it is dark. That has the heroes fighting the heroes and everything like that. Right? It takes the main character of the MCU since 2008 and 8 years later makes him the primary antagonist.
Right.
And gives him a backstory, like the parents getting murdered right in front of him, like makes it make sense. But like, No Way Home should not be Civil War. Like, I completely disagree with that notion. If you brought Toby and Andrew back and made them dicks and made them wrong, there would have been riots.
I don't even think they're wrong. I don't think they'd be dicks. Because Civil War, you're right, it is gloomy and sad, but that's because, like, most of the MCU at that time kind of was. Like, Steve Rogers was, like, a serious dude, and, like, they all make jokes. They're all fun. But now you have three of the quippiest, jokiest characters fighting. I'm not saying, like, Andrew needs to hold Tom Holland's arms behind his back and be like, kill him, Toby! Like, but, like, if they're all quipping, that'd still be fun. Like, having them all fight each other.
I disagree.
I think one way for them to fix the problem of Tom being an idiot and going against and causing all these things, bad things to happen, and all being on him, they could have just made, let me know what you think about this, Doctor Strange say, hey, the universe, like, bad things are about to happen. You have, like, you've got until tomorrow to fix these guys and try to send them back that way if you want. If not, I'm going to come and send them back regardless. And then that gives Tom, like, a time limit of, like, hey, I'm still going to try to save these guys without it being, like, I'm doing this and I'm putting the universe at risk. Does that make sense?
How do you guys feel about Doctor Strange in that movie? Because the more we talk about it, the more I remember I also hated that dude.
I remember when the trailer came out, and I was like, "Oh, this movie's gonna be a Doctor Strange mistake. I don't really love that, stuff like that." But
well, the one line of "Go Scooby Doo this,"
Oh,
That's
so
that,
bad.
That's bad. That was bad.
There's that. It's weird that, like, right, the fact that it's, like, a Doctor Strange mistake because not Toby. God, there's so many Spider-Man in this. Because Tom is being annoying is, like,
dumb.
obnoxious and dumb.
I don't think this movie's perfect.
Right.
I do not think it's a 10 out of 10. Like, there are flaws with No Way Home. I think a lot of the flaws that people say and then chalk it up to, oh, this movie's average, it's like a 6 out of 10 or whatever, the current opinion on Twitter, et cetera, like those are the opinions I don't disagree with. I'm not going to argue with you and tell you this movie is flawless the same way I would about Spider-Verse 1 and 2.
Right.
The same way I would about, Citizen Kane. The same way I would about, The Dark Knight. Like, there are flaws with No Way Home, and Doctor Strange certainly is one of them. I don't love Zendaya's acting. I will die on the hill that she has never turned in a good performance in her life.
Whoa.
Yeah, like...
Have you seen Euphoria?
I haven't seen Euphoria, but I've seen clips of Euphoria. She does not act properly.
Whoa!
No, like, and she's won Emmys or stuff for... Like, that shows to me that nobody in Hollywood, all of those voters, have never been around that. Because she is...
Oh, I see.
Drastically over the top. Like it feels like a parody to me.
Right.
Which feels hilariously disrespectful to me.
Right.
So that's my bias against her. That bothers me about her.
Got you.
So I fully admit when I don't like somebody, I don't like you. Like like you can do one very little thing to me. If I don't like you, I'm going to say you're bad in everything, which is a big problem. Like it's a flaw of mine.
Well, I think that's like also you are kind of mad at those types of people because I agree that, like, I don't hate No Way Home. It's more just any opinion I have about it becomes amplified because it's this, like, Spider-Man magnum opus. So when it's like, we got all the Peters back, we got all the villains back, and then it's, like, just fun enough, I'm like, well, what the hell? Like, we had, like, $3 billion to make this movie, every actor in Hollywood, and it's just okay. Meanwhile, Spider-Verse was like a 10 out of 10 banger.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I won't let you say that. It's just okay. I think it's exactly what it needed to be. And I hate to harp on this point, but like, have you had a more fun theater experience?
Oh, for sure. I clapped. The only time I ever cheered in a movie theater was in 2014's Godzilla.
Gareth Edwards one? Why?
I went nuts when he breathed fire down
Yeah,
that
me
thing's
too,
neck.
dude. Oh, there's also that moment where that's Mothra or who is it? There's some
it's
flying
like a-
creature.
No,
Muto,
that's King
yeah.
of the Monsters. That's
No.
the
There's
sequel.
one that's flying.
One
in there.
does fly,
Yeah, because-
but it's not Mothra.
Yeah, so it's coming at him.
Yeah.
Because I was watching this with like some of my high school buddies. We all lost it when he did that. When he goes, dude, I lost it. But also, there's a moment where like something's flying at him, and he like turns around and just uses his tail to just like slap this guy in the face and like throw him into a building. And it was like, that's why. See.
What is this?
Read this.
List of daddies.
What was that, number 3?
Godzilla.
Yeah.
Right beneath David Harbour. Where he belongs.
Yeah.
No, I won't say that Godzilla 2014 was like the most fun, but like there was that, like, I don't love Rogue One like you guys, but like the Vader bit.
Yeah. So I was like going, and I am like historically low on that movie.
Yeah.
But like the Vader scene.
Did you have a good time at Endgame?
Endgame? What's the
Portal scene.
Infinity War, though. I know you guys love, like, the portal scene's like your favorite thing.
That's my favorite thing in the world.
I'm not going to disagree at all, but like, Endgame was so...
Endgame's definitely...
Infinity
War's
War
a better movie.
Was just so, like, I love tension, and I like when shit's dark, so, like, I get that I'm, like, a different audience.
No, I mean...
And Endgame, like, when all the portals showed up, I like choreography, too. There wasn't a lot of that. It felt more like visual, like, stew, whereas, like, Endgame had, like...
Infinity War.
God. Infinity War, the fight against Thanos is, like, there's creative magic being used, there's, like, choreography I can keep up with.
Yeah, and, like, we've always said Infinity War is a better movie. I just think the particular moment, like, there's a lot of Endgame where it's just kind of like, whatever. The particular moment of the portal scene is better than any one moment in Infinity War to me, or in any movie ever.
But that's my favorite scene in the MCU MCU is
Thor's
showing up
arrival
at
in Wakanda. Yeah, but I think the
That is
the-
hype. That's
my
great.
gosh, with the box.
That's
Bring
awesome.
me that! Oh, and the
Yeah.
lightning. Oh,
Yeah, but on your
great.
left, and then seeing everyone that has been dead for a year, and you've watched these characters for the last 23 movies or whatever it was, and on your left, and then Black Panther, Bombay, and all of them showing up, and him saying Avengers Assemble with Mjolnir is wild.
That specific bit with the Mjolnir is sick. It's hard for me to feel those things with the MCU when, like, we know who's gonna come back, like, 2 years before they do, is the only thing. Like, when the portals show up and everyone's undusted, I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I wasn't as shocked as when they got dusted.
Yeah, I was
'Cause
definitely
them coming
more
back
shocked.
Is like,
Well, that was one of my gripes, and I think it's still a gripe, even though obviously much less so because we've seen Endgame. But that was my biggest gripe walking out of the theater in Infinity War, is that they killed Black Panther and they killed Spider-Man. That was the big issue for me. Not because I was upset that they died,
because you don't buy it.
but yes, Black Panther made $2 billion 3 months prior. You are not killing him. Like, Spider-Man is the most profitable superhero in the world at the time. His sequel, Far From Home, is slated to come out next year. Like, you are not convincing me that those guys are dead. Peter Quill? Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Like all these other guys? Maybe.
Yeah.
As soon as they killed Black Panther, I was like,
I know.
and then Spider-Man, I was rolling my eyes, like in the theater when he was like, "Oh, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good." I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll see you next year, Bubba."
Yeah,
like
get rid of a Groot, get rid of a Hulk. Like,
this is interesting. Like, right? Like,
yeah,
like,
stakes.
But like, Black Panther and Spider-Man are not dead. Like,
I
we
know,
this. Like when he stabs Iron Man on Titan.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, RDJ, wow, that's what an end." That's crazy.
Yo, I was so scared when that happened.
Yeah.
That's what I love. That was like, I would say that is one of the most fun theater experiences I've had is Infinity War. Because no one, for the first time in like a decade of MCU history, nobody knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah, but you get that in Endgame too. I am telling you, leading up to Endgame, the amount of people that I had conversations with of like, is Captain America dying? Is Iron Man dying? And then if you're talking about tension, yeah, there's a lot of tension on Titan, but the tension when Thor, Cap, and Iron Man are fighting Thanos by themselves, that entire time I was like, one of them's about to die, and I was like nervous the whole time.
Yeah, that's a good fight for sure.
Okay, we're gonna do agree disagree.
Nice.
Everyone's favorite segment.
No, just yours.
You don't like this segment?
I like this segment. It's perfectly fine, but he sings his praises.
It's the best. It's the best segment.
This is my favorite segment. Because there's tension, baby.
Yeah, tension. You don't know what we're gonna say.
The 2 seconds after the question, I'm like, which one? Which one's gonna disagree?
All right, ready?
Yeah.
I've got a few of these, so
I'm hyped.
we'll see how many we get.
I can't believe I'm living this TikTok segment that I love.
You're here, dude.
Yeah, this is awesome.
All right, here we go. Ready? Number 1. Zuko is one of the best TV characters of all time. 3, 2, 1. Agree.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I purposely said one of the best, so we didn't have to argue about that, but I think he's in the conversation.
I think so too.
Yeah. Do you guys take into consideration that Avatar is a kid's show when talking about it? Like, it's like a family show, but like, I think it elevates it a little bit, being like, oh,
Like
Zuko's one of the best characters, and it's in a show that's TV 7, you know?
Yes! This is such a good take. This is such a good take. If something is made for kids and like kids can enjoy it, but it's also spectacular, makes it better than stuff that's spectacular just for adults.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Because, well, for a lot of reasons, but like number 1, it is not necessary to have something that amazing in terms of character arc in a kid's show. Number 1, it's just not necessary. And number 2, now in terms of like people's favorite shows, it can stay with you. I loved Avatar when I was 8. I love Avatar when I'm 25. Like, because of things like this. I love Iroh and Zuko and like the struggle in the show now way more than I did when I was 9. But when I was 9, I liked that Aang could freaking make an air scooter. Like, it's awesome.
No, for sure. I don't, like, you were talking about, like, rewatchability of stuff, and I agree with you that, like, like that shouldn't really play into factor of like your score of a show, but Avatar is like so unbelievably rewatchable because you watch it as a kid and you're like, whoa, the powers are cool, these characters are my age, I love the adventures are going on. And then I've like rewatched it recently, and like Iroh's explaining the 4 elements to Zuko, and like how like firebenders can learn from waterbenders, and that's how he redirected lightning. And I'm like, oh, I'm learning right now. I'm learning, and I'm 24 years old from this kid's show. Like,
like I always illustrate it this way. I think Godfather 2 is worse than the first one, and I like don't think it's the best sequel of all time. But I hear a lot of people tell me that Godfather 2 is the best sequel of all time, and that it's better than the first and whatever. That's okay. I still think it's a great movie. But like my one argument for my pick for best sequel of all time, which is Empire Strikes Back, my number one argument is Godfather 2 only had to appeal to adults. Empire Strikes Back has to appeal to both and did it expertly.
Right. It's also just like a new, like, I don't know. It's so, I don't know. This is not a take I want on the internet actually, but like a mafia thing compared to like a universe you are creating like from scratch.
Yeah.
Especially at the time of like Empire Strikes Back, where George Lucas is just like sweating it out every day, being like, no one's gonna like this movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
that's
it was breaking a
impressive
lot
to
of
me.
new ground
Well,
for sure.
Well, Empire was a little different, but New Hope specifically. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a very interesting point. I like that.
Every time, sorry, this is the last thing.
Sure.
Every time the Oscars come around and it's something like Everything Everywhere All at Once up against like, you know, a World War II biopic. For sheer creativity and difficulty, I feel like it should go to the more original movie.
Do you like James Cameron Avatar then? Because it's a brand new universe?
It's like, I respect it for that. It's like just Pocahontas. He like...
Well, the first one.
Yeah.
I like the second one a little bit more.
The second one I do think is the same story though, largely. Just, I've never seen a movie made that well.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, like I've seen Seven Samurai. I've seen the movies that Avatar is completely ripping off.
Right.
So when Avatar came out, I was like, this is nothing special.
Right.
I think Way of Water was my favorite movie of 2022.
Wow.
I was floored the whole time. I've never seen a movie made that well, even though I've seen that movie before.
Right, yeah.
Like, emotionally, everything hit. It obviously looks amazing. Like, so I feel a little differently where I will give a movie leeway for being unoriginal if it's just spectacular.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't call Avatar unoriginal.
No,
in a lot
certainly
of
not.
ways.
Certainly
like Pandora is crazy.
Yeah, no, certainly not. But it is just Earth, but they're blue and 9 feet tall.
Yeah. I feel what you're saying.
It's still such a simplistic way of saying that.
And the next one, they're doing like fire people now. Okay, so now it's just Avatar.
Yeah, now it's literally The Last Airbender.
No, it's not. Okay. Here we go. There are no good lightsaber fights outside of Star Wars video game cutscenes.
Okay.
3,
2, 1, disagree. What the
Dude, I hate the lightsaber fights in like every Star Wars movie.
Okay, we need to go through them. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a few good ones.
I think I know which one you guys are gonna fight.
Darth and Luke.
Return of the
is that the
Jedi
one?
bangs.
Okay.
Return of the Jedi bangs.
Which lightsaber fight specifically?
Vader, Luke in front of
I
the
knew
Emperor.
you'd where Luke's just hitting him with a
Amazing,
baseball bat.
and they stop fighting, and you've got half of his face is blue, and half of his face is red.
Darth Maul.
Like what about Darth Maul? Most of the prequel fights are cool for being unique because it's like sword dance, but it's just sword dance.
There is no emotional weight to those scenes.
Okay.
The most emotional weight on any fight in almost any fiction ever is Obi-Wan versus Anakin.
But it's like...
But it's not well acted.
It's not well acted.
Oh, shut the frick up. Shut the frick up. You're not acting when you're fighting.
Hayden Christensen, does not... I
don't want to hear your opinion on this anymore. What the frick is wrong with the Mustafar fight?
That's
30 minutes long.
Yeah, it's 30 minutes long. You are acting while you're fighting. The difference between, your average, Captain America up against a bunch of goons and Captain America versus the Winter Soldier is those emotional beats in their faces. It's the desperation. It's the story wrapped around it. Here's my issue with all the lightsaber fights, except for the Luke versus Vader. I'll wiggle on a bit.
Okay.
My issue is that I don't see the strategy and technique in the movie ones that I see in the video game cutscenes.
Nope, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm going to cut you off.
Okay,
I would
go
like
on.
you to finish your point. You are wrong. I can give you every strategy for every original trilogy one. Okay? Ben versus Vader.
Right.
Ben is constantly moving away. He's constantly baiting Vader out. He is wasting time. He is stalling. That is entirely what Ben is doing. The whole fight, Vader is going for the kill the entire time. It's all stabbing motions, and that is when it's not choreographed at all. Anybody that tells me that fight is boring, I have no problem with that. I think that's the best movie of all time. I have no problem when people tell me the New Hope Ben fight is boring, because it's slow. I'll give you that. But the whole time, there is strategy with their movements. Empire, Vader versus Luke is the most strategy we've ever seen. Luke's fighting in that movie is entirely based on his character in that movie. His character the entire movie is, I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to see this thing, because he couldn't on Tatooine. His whole character on Tatooine in New Hope is, I want to go to Tashi Station. I want to go to war. I don't want to do the farm. I want to do this. I want to do that. In Empire, it's the perfect progression from Luke A to Luke B, because Luke B is, I am going to check out that meteorite and then get attacked by the Wampa. I am going to go train with Yoda. I am going to steer into this planet on Dagobah, even though all of my readings are telling me not to. I am going to leave, even though my training is halfway done, because I think maybe my friends are in danger. I am going to swing at Vader. I am going to attack him. I am going to shoot at Boba Fett, even though Leia's right there. That's his whole thing. His whole tactic in the fight with Vader is he is swinging like it's just mindless. He's just going for it.
Right.
And Vader is so strategic. He's slow. He's not going to make the big mistake. It's almost like a football player just taking the check down. It's like he's slow, and then he is like using. As the fight is going on, he is learning what Luke can do, and he is learning his advantages. So he tries to get him in the carbonite. It's too easy. Learns that Luke has figured out that he could get out of that, and he's like, oh, okay, I'm learning. And then he realizes that Luke just isn't with it in the Force, and he's just throwing the whole time in the thing, and then he gets knocked out of the window, and by then the fight's over, because Luke has just lost all the high ground, all the momentum, everything, and then he obviously cuts off his hand and keeps pushing him back. So there's so much strategy in that fight. And then the Return of the Jedi fight, Vader is not trying at all. He is only blocking. He is only trying to stop his son from making the big mistake. And then finally he's annoyed, and you can see it in his fighting, but he's annoyed, and then Luke escapes, and he's like, I'm not going to fight, whatever. And then he's like, okay, I got to goat this kid into fighting. And then he says the thing that makes the big mistake, and he almost turns to the dark side. I completely disagree. I think every single original trilogy fight has a lot of strategy in it.
That was beautiful. First off, that was absolutely like heart palpitating.
It's a good description.
Have you ever played this game and someone has changed their answer?
No.
No? Because that really was beautiful.
So you're changing your answer?
I'm close to... Here's the thing. I just want to say my piece.
Why did you originally say it?
Because I agree that, like, one, you did teach me a lot about those fights. But two, I agree that they're, like, well-written, and in the context of, like, the full film, like, I do love Luke just bashing at Vader. And, like... I think that there are, like, a lot of moments, like, in movies where I'm like, oh, because of, like, the weight of everything that came before it, this moment is really strong. But there are no fights, and maybe you disagree, there are no fights in those original trilogy movies that I would ever just rewatch to watch a fight. You know what I mean? That's more what I mean. Like, I think they're well written, and I think, like... it's very clear that they're struggling against, like, the limitations that, like, these fluorescent lights will probably shatter if we bang them too hard, and, like, some of these actors are old men. I think that, like, the original trilogy has those great written moments. The prequel trilogy is too over-choreographed, and I get what they were going with it, but, like, again, it leads to your eyes just glazing over when it's 30 minutes of, like... twirls and none of them would actually hit anybody. I think the video games are the only, like, instances where I've been like, oh, this is how trained and tactical a Jedi is. Like, anytime we get an instance of Order 66, I roll my eyes because it's like, what happened to these guys being fucking trained in like
Yeah,
the best swordsmen
especially-
ever.
yeah.
And like especially in like Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
but,
you
like,
just see like
Yeah.
people on the Jedi Council going down in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, like, oh, all it took was 2 guys shooting at them. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's the weakness. But like I don't know if you've seen like the Knights of the Old Republic like cutscenes.
Yes, of course.
There's like great moments. Like there's one where there's 2 Jedi fighting 2 Sith.
Yes.
And one Sith is about to cleave a Padawan, and the other dude throws his lightsaber, and it like counters that hit while also like coming back for him to block. There's so much like that where you see them like analyzing on the fly. There's the one with like in the later expansions with the woman taking on like 6 dudes on a train, and it's very tactical, and like every attack she does is also blocking another one. And so I mean more in terms of like friends are over, they've never seen Star Wars before. What am I gonna show them to show them that it's like has great action? It's nothing from the movies.
So I can tell you exactly why you feel this way, and the idea, because you rewatch the Knights of the Old Republic cutscenes.
Yeah.
You would never rewatch an original trilogy fight scene. Is the
Right.
sentence you just said.
Right,
So
right.
this is, let me tell you why. The original trilogy fight scenes are great in the context of the movie.
Right.
Because it's a movie. Video game fight scenes are in the context of a video game. You play a video game, you might play for 2 hours and then you stop.
Right.
You might play for 30 minutes and then you stop. Video game cutscenes are not designed specifically to come before or after something in particular,
Right.
because a video game is not linear like that. You might go a month between picking up and putting down a video game before you pick it up again.
Right.
So a video game has to be designed to not necessarily, you might not know what the
Yeah.
fuck is going on right now.
Yeah, they're like
When
short stories,
In
kinda.
the movie, as I just explained to you, in Empire, everything Luke does in the fight with Vader on Bespin is because of his character decisions in that movie. And that's how you get from Luke point B to point Z in Return of the Jedi. Unfortunately, we just don't see any of that on screen, which bothers me. But so that's my answer to that. Is those scenes are not made to be rewatchable. And then the rebuttal I would make to you,
Why not?
I agree with him. I agree with him. I never once have I just said, "Oh, I'm gonna YouTube the Bespin fight." Never
Right.
once, even though it's probably my favorite fight in Star Wars. Never once have I been like, "Oh, I gotta see the Return of the
Right,
Jedi fight
yeah,
now."
I think-
it's great in the context of the film. And the other rebuttal I would make to you, which I agree with you almost completely on, is I have YouTubed to rewatch prequel fights, but that's because those are the highlights of those movies. The fights have almost nothing to do with those movies.
Right.
It goes, okay, we're going to talk about weird, boring Senate stuff, and oh, this is pod racing, and then
there's a fight.
Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't. It's not linear. It doesn't.
I think you're totally discounting a lot of the prequels. You can say that about some of the fights. That's fine. You cannot say about the Mustafar fight. It is the climax of all 3 of those movies. It is extremely emotional, and in terms of like they're fighting, reflecting who they are. Like there are moments in that fight where like you can tell that Obi-Wan and Anakin have been friends and brothers for so long that they are anticipating what they're going to do. Yeah, they throw a lot of like extra flips in there and stuff, and like you can call that stupid if you want, but like that fight is specifically choreographed in a way to display that they are both masters in what they do, and they have known each other for so long that they are predicting what each other's going to do. And you have the emotion of you care about Obi and you care about Anakin, and you see Anakin finally take that last final step of becoming evil when he sees Obi-Wan step out and he attacks Padme. And then you also have, I can't say it's not emotional, it's emotionalist when at the end you get the "you are my brother" Anakin speech. Like all of that is in the Mustafar fight, and you're just throwing that all out because you think that there's some extra like flipping that doesn't make sense. That's not true.
It's not just extra flipping. They are swinging on vines like they are Tarzan. And okay, like if you want to say
You
like
just all the stuff I said is still true.
but like it's 30 minutes. Like it's literally 25 minutes of screen time of that movie. That's just too long. It takes me out of it at some point. And on top of like again the swinging like they are Tarzan. Just cut the rope. Like it's not tactical. It's not smart because
That is
they did too much with that fight. That fight would have been 60 times better.
It's one of the most rewatched fights in any media of all time. People love that fight, and for good reason. It's fine for being that long and for taking that much of the movie. If it had been shorter, people will complain that it wasn't long enough, because why wouldn't the Obi-Wan Anakin fight be that long when it's that important? It is the turning point from episode 3 to what you get in episode 4. It is the most important fight probably in the entirety of Star Wars, at least top 3. Why not make it long?
The seeds of chaos I've sown among the two people who disagreed with my point.
At the end of the day, it's the Avatar thing, right? Like, Avatar is a great show because it was enjoyable for kids and it's enjoyable for adults. I don't feel that way about the Mustafar fight. I think it is. I
disagree.
Children.
Oh, I like that.
I think,
That's
yeah,
fun.
and I think you don't, in terms of rewatchability, the original trilogy fights are not as much for children. No?
Of course.
Okay, so I say it should be both. I think the video games probably do both, where because video games can give you that emotion. You care about these characters, you actually play as them, so you get the emotion, but you also get some very well choreographed, cool, this is happening.
Right.
Like, I really like the freaking Mace Windu fights in like the original Clone Wars movies from like 2002, because he's doing stuff like that where like he's fighting a droid over here and like his lightsaber comes out and slices one behind him, and then he catches it. Like, that's freaking sick.
Yeah, right.
But I think specifically the Mustafar, and I think the episode 1 fight with Darth Maul, like, Darth Maul doesn't come out just come out of nowhere. And then you also get like how Obi-Wan's fight changes when he sees Qui-Gon die. Like, that's emotional. He comes in way hotter after that and is just swinging for the fences. Like, I think there's some things in those fights that are being completely discounted in this conversation. But
So have I changed your mind?
I like, and I'm not doing this like out of like pity or anything, but like out of sheer respect for your soliloquy and because it genuinely moved me, I will switch to disagree.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, because the original thing was there are no good lightsaber fights outside of video games. There are one or two good ones.
I know. I think I like.
The video games just have the best in your opinion.
Well, you like just swayed me on like the context aspect about it. Like, I think I was too close-minded in that statement where I'm like, I think as like a fight from like purely like choreography, from a purely choreography standpoint, I do think the video game ones are better. But like, I do think that like a fight at its best is the culmination of emotions, not just like flips and kicks. So I disagree with my own point.
I think the best fights will have both.
Yeah.
Notice how we didn't talk about any of the sequel fights. That's crazy. Okay.
I like one of them, and I know you guys don't.
Which one?
I like the Rey and Kylo versus the Red Guards. No one likes
love that
shit.
fight.
That fight's so good.
I love
Who
that fight.
cares if
Have
a
you
knife
seen the breakdown of it? How it doesn't make any sense? There's no
Who cares?
Who
It's
cares? You just
awesome.
made points the entire time we've been talking about how choreography matters. What are you talking about? In terms of choreography, that one's worse than anything you've talked about.
My guys-
Your way of arguing makes no sense. You talk about one thing for 30 minutes, and then it just doesn't matter when you want to make a different point.
You are.
Holy crap! Who cares? You do!
Do you see why I didn't bring up the sequels? You're destroying your own set.
Dude, I almost passed out.
I know. I saw. I've never seen someone turn that many shades.
I had a lot of fun watching that scene in that theater.
I liked it.
It's so fun.
It's cool. You know, a knife disappears mid-edit. That's okay.
Who cares? Yeah,
People are just falling over for no
They're
reason.
falling over for no reason. Who cares? I didn't notice that my first watch, my second watch, my third watch, my fourth watch.
Yeah,
I noticed it when somebody pointed out on the internet.
It's not as bad as like the Christopher Nolan ones where
Yes, those
I'm
are
watching
so
like
bad.
Catwoman literally kick nobody and a dude a yard across goes
Yeah,
down. Like,
so bad.
I didn't notice when I'm watching it
Batman
casually.
Begins.
So.
I think Batman Begins is a near perfect movie. The main problem I have is the fights. The shaky cam.
Yeah.
What are we doing with the camera, brother? Like, oh my gosh.
All right, here we go. Spider-Man 2 should have won Game of the Year. 3, 2, 1.
Agree. Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, I just don't know.
I put disagree because I don't know. Like,
I heard the game that won
Yeah.
is like super complex, and you
Yeah.
say one thing in it, and it matters like
Yeah.
18 billion hours later.
yeah. For me, I mean, my video game of the year was Spider-Man 2 because that's probably the only video game I played, and I'm a Spider-Man guy.
Okay, so I want to hear your take. You're almost certainly more knowledgeable about it than us.
I love you being like, I just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna go with whatever your answer was. Really.
Spider-Man 2 came out in a year with like 3 other genuine like 11 out of 10 like groundbreaking video games. It was a tough year for Spider-Man 2 to come out, and I think that like Spider-Man 2 is like a high 8 to a 9 out of 10. I think Baldur's Gate 3, which is the one that won, is just too like literally groundbreaking. Like it's got it, like you said, every choice like has a butterfly effect. That's insane. It's got unbelievable replayability. It's got like content out the wazoo. And I think Spider-Man 2, go on.
Can you have sex with a bear?
You can't have sex with a bear.
Just making sure.
That's why it's an 11 out of 10. It's so like Spider-Man 2 is very much almost the best version of what it is trying to be.
Yeah.
I think like the first third of Spider-Man 2 is a little slow. Anytime you're not being Spider-Man, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, how do you guys feel in terms of like in the Arkham games when you're not Batman, you're doing detective shit, you're like wheeling and dealing with like mob bosses as Bruce Wayne, and it's because like Gotham's world is a little more interesting because it's so cutthroat and like it's just crime city. In Spider-Man, it's tough because when you're not being Spider-Man, what is there to do? You're like doing science that like doesn't really matter. You're like riding a bike. Like
I think that's perfectly fair.
Do you think Yuri should have won voice actor?
100%. That dude, like,
Who did he lose to?
I can't remember.
some Baldur's Gate, like one of the characters in Baldur's Gate that I don't even think was the best to like voice actor in it, but like Yuri, did you play Spider-Man 2?
No, I don't play video games.
It's you said that so dour. Like, no, unfortunately, I don't play video games.
Yeah, I'm sure I would have loved to, but like I don't think I could figure it out. Like I really am incompetent at video games. I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm better than the average Super Smash Brothers Ultimate player.
Okay.
And that's like literally it. I can play Mario Kart.
Right.
But like
Do you play? You don't play like NHL or NFL or anything?
I
Madden?
can play Madden with a friend. I could play 2K with a friend. I couldn't play 2K with a friend, but like I could play Madden with a friend. But like I'm not gonna be good. Like I just in my household the rule was no video games.
Right, gotcha.
And
it's tough.
It was until my brother's adopted, and. So it was 9 years of my life that I was an only child, and then inserted a 5-year-old.
Oh wow!
And so that brought in a lot of change.
Yeah.
So as he got older, the video games got introduced. So I'm 17, 18. My interests are comic books and football and superhero movies, and the MCU's at its height. Like Civil War's coming out next week.
Right.
And I'm not caring about video games, and now my brother is getting a console and this and playing Fortnite and these games, that Halo and all these games that all my friends played, but I never played.
Yeah.
So I'm just so late to the party that my growth, like picking up a controller,
just
like
doesn't make sense.
no, like he let me swing in Spider-Man, no concept. I couldn't do it. I can't figure. I'm running into buildings. I can't. So I don't think I could.
That's so interesting to me though that you. Like, right, you grew up loving comic books, all this stuff, MCU's at its height, and a console is introduced, and your response isn't, oh my god, I get to be Batman finally, with the Arkham games.
Yeah,
you're just like, that's terrifying.
No, I watched them
right,
on YouTube.
Got you.
Like,
yeah.
so that's what I would do with all those games. I can't. I've watched the completion of every Arkham game. I know exactly what the happened.
Gotcha.
But I don't like.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Like to press the buttons to do the combos.
Right. Yeah. No,
not
that makes
English
sense.
to me.
Can you check those? Yeah. So Yuri lost to some Baldur's Gate person.
Yeah, Yuri like almost made me cry during the Scream fight.
Yeah.
Like when he's like
and the
going
Venom fight at the end. Yeah, both were good.
God, yeah, he was great. He was so good.
Well, I had a No Way Home one on here, but we already discussed that. Pixar returned to form with Elemental.
Go on.
That's it. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Agree.
Let's go. I need the backup.
I mean,
when was the last time you saw The Incredibles?
no, it says returned to form.
Right.
So like it lost its way for a minute. So, and I think Elemental brought it back.
I think it, like...
Oh, you don't think Elemental's good? I think Elemental's the best Pixar movie we've gotten in the last 5 years, but I don't think it's as good as The Incredibles. I think it might be top 10, but I think it's at least in the conversation of being in, like, the conversation of, like, the first, like, 13 movies Pixar made, or whatever it was, were, like, bangers.
Yeah.
And then they dropped Cars 2, and then it fell off a cliff. But the first whatever were really good, and I think that is, like, right in that conversation or right below it, and not as low as, like, some of the other stuff we've gotten recently.
Why I disagree, I think will piss both of you off.
Okay.
I don't think Elemental was a return to form because I feel that their current inconsistency is consistent with the company.
Okay, well, however you want, like, we could like redo this question
No,
to just
I get
say,
what
like,
you're saying. So
like-
you think it nudged them back on a path of...
Yeah, I always, when I watch a Pixar movie, I can come out and be like, that felt like a Pixar movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you did that with a lot of the ones they dropped in the early parts of Pixar, and I felt that a little bit with Elemental. And
I'm not a big Toy Story 1 guy.
What you're saying is so interesting.
Like, Incredibles is a masterpiece. I think it's the third best animated movie of all time, only behind the 2 Spider-Verse movies. I think Nemo doesn't get enough love. I think it's easily the second best Pixar movie. And I think Ratatouille and Monsters, Inc. and WALL-E, like, I think a lot of these movies are great, but I'm not a big Toy Story 1 or Toy Story 2 guy. Like, I think that Brave is an absolute miss. I think The Good Dinosaur is a miss.
Yeah.
But then in that same era, I really like Cars 2. Like, obviously, it's not some masterpiece the way Toy Story 3 is. Toy Story 3 is a heist movie a la Ocean's 11. It's as good.
I'm pretty sure they dropped Toy Story 3 and then Cars 2. Like, that's the drop we brought. Or something, like, it's something like that.
But my
What a
point is
combo.
so
Yeah,
let's
like-
take a more recent approach. I really like Soul. And
Right, but when did Soul come out?
and
Recently.
2020, right? So I really like Soul. And
You like
Oh, yeah.
all of Soul?
Yes, I like all of Soul.
Wow.
What? You don't like Soul?
I don't like when he becomes a cat.
What?
That's-
It's funny.
I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I loved Elemental. And sure, like, I didn't even see Turning Red. I didn't see Luca. I didn't see Lightyear. But, like, I don't love Inside Out, which is a movie that a lot of people really love.
Yeah, I
I'm not
love
really
it.
excited for the sequel. So this is Pixar to me. I think Toy Story 4 is a travesty. I think it's the worst Pixar movie other than Brave. I hate Toy Story 4 with all my heart. So it's like, this has been Pixar all my life. I will not give anybody that, return to form. It's all year, my whole life, it's been dud, banger, dud, banger, dud, banger.
I think if you look at the first dozen Pixar movies, that is generally that is a league of its own. They might have like a little drop with like Bug's Life or whatever, but like it was
Bugs Life.
I forgot about Bug's Life.
like that was their second movie. But it's
Don't
like,
make
it's-
a bug movie.
It's all the Toy Stories are good except for, in my opinion. And then you have Up, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo. All of those came out like in a row. That is a different era than the ups and downs that we've had since then, in my opinion.
Okay. We're just going to do this in order.
Sure.
And I'm going to say my opinion. You guys can say if you disagree or agree or whatever, okay? All right. Toy Story 1, I think it's good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a masterpiece. I think it's good. Bug's Life, I don't like Bug's Life.
No.
Okay? Toy Story 2, I think it's good. I think it's better than the first one, but again, good. Monsters, Inc. is the first one that I really, really like here. Then Finding Nemo, I think is their second best movie. Then The Incredibles, I think is their best movie. And then Cars, I think it drops tremendously at Cars. I think Cars is I think Cars is about the same level of a movie as Toy Story. And then we go to Ratatouille, which is a movie I really like. And then we go to WALL-E, which is an opening that I really, really like. But then the rest of the movie, I don't know. Up, an opening I really, really like. And then the rest of the movie, I don't know. And then Toy Story 3,
Yeah.
masterpiece.
That section right there is what I'm talking about.
But,
like, if
like,
you don't personally like Toy Story and Cars as much as everyone else, you still have to acknowledge that those are way more iconic than Luca. Like, Lightning McQueen and Woody are not Turning Red and Luca and things we've gotten recently. Like, that is still bangers.
But that's your age. In the same way that I think that the argument stands that the Star Wars sequels will have the audience that the prequels currently have in 10 years. Like, it's the same thing that, like, we all are thinking, oh, the MCU Avengers lineup is terrible. In 20 years, there are going to be people that tell you with the straightest face possible that Sam Wilson is easily a better Captain America than Steve Rogers. Like, it's just about what we grew up with. I see Monsters University all the time. I think Monsters University is
terrible.
Garbage.
Yeah, I do too.
But I see Monsters University. I see like Coco's a great movie. I see Coco everywhere. I'm sure we're going to see Onward and Soul and Luca. Luca was a huge TikTok trend. There are going to be so many kids that grow up that tell you Luca's the best animated movie of all time.
Yeah, no, I have cousins that have Luca in their top 10 Pixar movie of all time. But they also have a lot of the ones from those first 10 years. And also, I'm pretty sure the critics and the audience scores that those films received are very consistently higher than the ones we get now.
But Rotten Tomatoes says when it came out, Inside Out was the 4th best movie of all time.
I said Rotten Tomatoes and audience score.
I'm with you, but like that's got like a 99%. Like, that's just my point. That's just my point. It's just...
So do you think a lot of criticism of past Pixar movies is like clouded by like rose-tinted goggles?
I think criticism of all media in the past is clouded by rose-tinted goggles, except for New Hope.
Whoa. Wow, interesting.
Including Empire Strikes Back. I don't understand. Like, we just posted a clip of us with our good buddy Connor, and he is like saying that New Hope is like the 6th best Star Wars movie, and I'm saying that's ridiculous and everything. Yeah. And then the comments are like, New Hope is boring consistently. That makes no sense to me.
Really?
That's the only one where it's like, and maybe that's me confessing my rose-tinted goggles or my nostalgia, but I don't think there's a movie better than New Hope.
I saw you say like, it's got the best pacing. There's no pacing better.
No, yes, and I will die on that. I could explain that to you in the symphony, the way that I can do the lightsaber battle. Like, everything, you know the multiplication theory that like, what would you rather have, $1 million or for a month you get a penny, but every day the penny doubles?
Okay.
You take the penny. Right. Because the penny eventually becomes $5 million or something like that. There's some math like that. There's a math equation like that. New Hope is the penny. It starts, it's interesting, space. I think the opening shot is the best shot of all time. With the big Star Destroyer chasing the little blockade runner. But as the movie goes on, it feels like you are doubling the penny until it's pennies and pennies and pennies. Everything gets faster. So the movie starts, it's slower. You're dealing with, there's some political talk. You don't really know what the that means, and this and that. And as we go on, everything just builds and builds and builds till you don't get to the cantina. You get the cantina about 40 minutes in. Once you're in the cantina, conversations happen at double the speed. The information you are getting makes more sense. It's clearer. The way they introduce the movie is the droids arguing. Well, you don't even understand one of them, and the droids are arguing on Tatooine. You're like, what the is this? And by the end of it, you have a kid that just joined the rebellion blow up Washington, D.C. Right? Like, that's how the movie ends. And I think the journey of getting there is just brilliant. Like, how it speeds up the plot. It's just brilliant.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think people just like, and then we can wrap this up because this was not a Star Wars question.
Yes.
But like,
Andrew gets upset about these. I can see it in his eyes.
I wonder if it's just, I don't know, like, when I was growing up, I remember renting A New Hope from my local library. And I think some people are just averse to old things. Like, as obnoxious as that is to say. Because I was a kid and I was like, what is this? This isn't, like, as fast as, like, the shit I'm into. Like, this isn't Iron Man 1 or whatever was out during then. And so, like, I think that could be where the boringness is coming from. Like, because I agree, if New Hope was like a book, I'd be like, man, this is cooking. Like, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
In terms of like it being a movie from the 70s with like 70s acting and stuff like that, it's like there are hurdles to get over.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand that. How do you show Star Wars to somebody that's never seen it?
That's tough. I guess you just have to show them A New Hope. Like, you really do, because the prequels are like boring as hell until they're not.
Yes.
And then like the Clone Wars is like a cartoon, so that's tough. Andor is my favorite Star Wars thing. But like there's no Andor without the context of all of Star Wars.
All of Star Wars, exactly. Andor, I think, is S tier Star Wars. It belongs in the conversation with New Hope, Empire, Andor, and The Siege of Mandalore, the final 4 episodes of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I think those 4 projects are the 4 best things in Star Wars. There's no question about it. I think Andor is masterful. I still take New Hope and Empire over it.
You need them. Like,
But no,
Just
it's
as-
my strongest opinion.
Right.
If somebody tries to argue with me that you start with Phantom Menace, like I will get as upset as he gets every day with me. Like you are robbing that person of being a fan of Star Wars.
Right.
You show them. New Hope is the second highest grossing movie of all time if you adjust for inflation. Like, that's the movie that everybody saw. That's everybody's introduction to Star Wars.
Yeah.
That should be everybody's. If you show somebody Phantom Menace first, they are not going to like it.
Yeah.
And you robbed Star Wars of a fan. It bothers the out of me.
That was our episode with Danny Motta. Yeah. The rest of the segments, maybe more agree, disagree, brackets, trivia. We did a whole episode on the Patreon with Danny, so go check it out. But thanks for watching.
We love you.